Good evening and welcome to another episode of Health Check right here on Hope TV, where you look and live. I'm your host Kerry Kagiri, and today we get right into this virus that has kept us home for more than 3 weeks and anticipating longer. Things are getting harder, and how can we beat it? How can we work around it? What is coronavirus? That's the conversation we are having today, and with us in studio are two amazing guests. We have a nutritionist in studio and Kenya's most famous virologist.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Who do we have in studio? You can introduce yourselves and look right into your camera.
So I am Christine Gitau. I am a nutritionist, dietitian. I have practiced for several years. And yes, we are here to just talk about how nutrition is going to affect your health, even as we stay at home and try to be safe.
That's good. We're eating a lot. Being at home, we're eating everything and anything. And Daktari in studio.
My name is Masika, Mose Masika, a virologist at the School of Medicine, University of Nairobi.
So, but your title is doctor?
Yes. Many virologists do study medicine, but you can also study viruses without becoming a doctor.
Okay,
yes.
That's quite interesting. Into the first question, and I'll start with Christine. What is coronavirus to you?
So coronavirus is a virus. A virus is a microorganism that can infect us and make us unwell. So the reason that coronavirus is called corona is when you look at it, it has this spikes. That is a crown. So crown, corona.
Wow, you've informed us so much. Daktari, she's accurate?
Yes, if you take a photograph of the virus using what we call an electron microscope, it does look like a crown, and corona is Latin for crown. Yes, and the crown is because of those spikes that help the virus enter your cell.
In the medical terms,
yes.
Where did this thing come from? It was just before dawn. It came out of nowhere.
Yes, and that's true with many viruses. We have viruses emerging and emerging across the world several times in our generation already. But this specific virus, we call it the SARS coronavirus 2, is thought to have emerged from bats. It may have an intermediate host that we haven't found out yet, and then crossed over into humans, and so far the transmission has been across humans. The ones that are driving the transmission. So if it comes to you, it's most likely coming from your fellow human. Yes.
And how, I mean, I noticed even just when you were coming in, you were like, my hands are not going to make any contact with any part of this place. What is that important role of our hands? Because you keep hearing, wash your hands, don't touch your face. What is that role?
It's a challenge for everyone right now to keep to those rules, even for me. So I try as much as possible when I remember not to touch my face, not to touch surfaces that I shouldn't touch, including the table. But it's not easy. So for that reason, we say you wash your hands, because you're bound to touch something and you're bound to touch your face at some point. In fact, without any effort to not touch your face, you will do it 30 times an hour easily. So, but now with the effort, you may reduce that, but you still be able to touch it. So if you keep your hands clean, then if you happen to touch your face, you are less likely to transmit your virus to your face. And usually if you touch your mouth, your nose, or your eyes, from after touching a surface that has the virus, you could transmit that virus to yourself. Although the biggest challenge or the biggest transmission route is through spittle or through droplets that come when I sneeze or cough, and to the people near you. Yes.
So we've talked about how it is transmitted, through touch, through all these things. But there's an important question that as we were preparing for the show, we spoke about, and it is how to explain it to the children in our homes, to those who don't understand, even those children with special needs, because life has been interrupted. Yes. And so we were trying to crack that question, and I think we came up with pretty good solutions that we would love to share with you. And we can start with you, Christine, being a parent as well. For you, how have you managed to explain that to your children?
So when we're having the discussion, we realize that you meet a child from their point of information. So I have a 2-year-old. So the other day, my 2-year-old comes in and she's very annoyed, and she says, Mom, this one has said corona. I think according to her, corona was an insult or something. So I took it as an opportunity to tell her, yes, they have said corona. Do you know what corona is? And she said, no. And then I told her, then corona is a disease, and you get corona when you touch people and things that you're not supposed to touch. So don't touch people, and also wash your hands. Do you know how to wash your hands? And then she said, yes, she did this.
Yeah.
So basically, every child has a different level of comprehension.
True.
And they're likely to get overwhelmed when we start speaking with them and bombarding them. So just start from what they know. Yes.
Dr. do you want to chime on that?
Yeah, I have a colleague of mine whom I work with, and she has older children, not 2-year-olds. And I asked her the same question, how are your kids coping? And she told me she had asked them to draw what they understand about the coronavirus.
Wow.
One of them, I think, is a scientist like us. So she drew a virus with the spikes,
Wow.
and then somebody coughing, and the other one drew somebody washing hands. And I found that very interesting, because then from there, you can find out what the child knows and then expand on that and tell them what they need to do not to get infected. Kids still need to play, so you need to work around ways of how to make their play safer. And now that they're in the house, they're going to need so much more of our attention.
Yes.
And in this attention, I think we have plenty of opportunities to talk to them about coronavirus at their level. But it also shows that the parents need to have the right information, because if they don't, they'll feed the kids with the wrong information, and that can then spread among the other children, and before you know it, it's not helping them at all.
That's true. We might be repeating ourselves a little, but how can we prevent corona?
Now, for prevention, currently the main approach is social distancing, which means for people who are not infected, we need to avoid crowds.
Yes.
So you stay away from others as much as you can. If you don't have to go to work, or if you can work from home, you stay at home. If you have people in the house you don't need to have people in the house who don't need to come. So social interactions should be kept to a minimum. And besides that, if you're interacting with someone, try and do that from at least 1 meter or 2 away, so that you don't get to the area of their droplets.
Yes.
And also avoid traveling if you don't have to, which, there are many times you make travel for fun or for social activities that doesn't have to be done. And additionally, keep your hands clean. Keep your surfaces that people touch clean. You keep cleaning them with soap or detergent. That helps in removing any virus that may be there. And if you happen to suspect, previously we were saying if you come into contact with somebody who has traveled or somebody who is sick and you get the symptoms, you need to call the government to help you decide what to do. Usually they were telling you, usually they were telling you to wait, and if you can wait at home and they come to you. But now that we have community transmission, it means anyone could have it.
That's
true. If you're having symptoms that you think show COVID-19, then you need to call and they will advise again what you need to do. It's going to be a challenge, but
we'll be able to. You'll be telling us all the symptoms, but I'd like to go to you, our nutritionist in studio. What are some of the ways we can also do actively, internally, with our internal conditions?
First things first, nutrition is a key player in immunity. So the things that affect your nutrition is basically what you eat, and also the disease conditions that you may have, and your gender. So for example, if you are, and also your age, sorry. For example, if you're a teenager, you have different nutritional needs from somebody who's 2, we have different needs from somebody who's 50. So if in an attempt to achieve our nutrition goals, what we need to do is ensure that we have what we like to call a balanced diet. This means, and in the simplest terms, eat your vegetables, eat whole food, eat your fruit, drink water, and exercise. This is very important because, number one, when you eat your vegetables and eat your fruits, these are foods that are high in fiber. When they're high in fiber, they help you're less hungry, especially when you're at home. When you're less hungry, you're less likely to be binging on everything. I know right now, I think all of us have seen the memes with the giraffe and the round giraffe and the round gazelle and the round zebra. So all of us have, and the crocodile, that was funny. All of us have seen that. And the challenge is that as we expose ourselves to hypercaloric intakes, that food that is very high in calories, the junk food, the chips and the crisps, we are also exposing ourselves to inflammatory agents, okay? When you're taking too much processed foods, the inflammation in your body increases, makes your immunity less.
Wow.
If you're taking too much junk food, you're eating less of your vegetables and fruits. Then you are not getting all your vitamins and minerals that are very crucial in forming your immune system. So that's the very first thing. When I know you can, this is the thing, I know you can. When you go shopping, do not buy junk. Buy food that you need to prepare. That's one rule of thumb, because then the temptation of I have this in the fridge or I have this in the cupboard goes away.
Completely.
Yes. Next thing is now observe just simple food hygiene. First of all, when you're going to the supermarket, what do? I don't want this one. I don't like this one. I'll touch this one. So don't touch everything. Pick what you need to pick. Pick the one item you're picking. All right? Because that is safe for you and also for the person next to you. Because right now, we really cannot tell who is unwell and who is not. So it's safe for both you and your neighbor. So don't go picking everything up from the supermarket. When you get home, make sure if there are things that you need to store, wipe them down. All right? Wipe them down. When you're preparing your fruits and vegetables, clean them thoroughly. It is no longer time to do, we like the
run them over water.
Run them over water. No, clean them.
I have a friend who
thoroughly.
uses soap to clean.
Yeah.
Literally put them in the sink like
and
normal.
wash them and rinse them off.
Wow.
Yes, it's very efficient.
That season?
Especially now, it's that season. Wash them, wash your vegetables, wash your fruits. Observe food hygiene. When you get into the kitchen, now these are things that we do at home. That when you get into the kitchen, when you're preparing food, wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Don't. Okay. I know it's hard. Dr. says it's hard. I remember the first time I really was conscious about touching my face. It even felt itchy.
You said whole foods, eh?
Yes.
You know, somebody might think whole foods is a plate of.
Fantastic.
So, yes.
Let's break it down, please.
Let's break it down.
Is quinoa a whole food?
Food that comes from the ground.
Oh, that comes from the ground.
Food that comes from the ground.
From the ground.
Quinoa is a seed. You can actually germinate it. So yes, quinoa would be whole food.
Okay.
But not all of us have quinoa.
That's true.
Yeah. But we have our potatoes and our sweet potatoes and our arrowroots. And I think later as we go on with the conversation, we'll speak about then what happens when now these things become short supply.
That's
But
good.
we get your food that came from the ground with minimal interruption. Okay?
Minimal interruption. So
Minimal
the hands
interruption.
that have changed.
Processing.
No, it has not gone into different processing cycles.
Okay, that's okay. Good.
Yes.
Break it down, girl.
Processing cycles. So you're going in and you want to have your biscuits. All right? So what's happened? Your biscuit had wheat that was processed and everything removed from it. Then it was added processed sugar and some high fructose corn syrup and some cream that we don't even know what makes it.
Let's stick to the whole foods.
Stick to whole foods. Just anything that comes from the ground. We say more plants. Eat more plants than you would animals. All right? So more sukuma wiki, more carrots, more broccoli, yes, cauliflower, whatever, more plants.
Yeah.
When it comes to legumes, the protein sources, more plants.
Okay. Those are things we need to continue talking about. I personally would like to repent of my sins because I went for shopping recently and it was
not whole
Pringles
foods.
and broccoli. And it's such a huge disparity. But even as we go that, can we delve deep into this virus? Because, I mean, you have exactly how this looks like and how it gets into our body and starts just... Please explain.
How it gets into your body and what it does. Remember the spikes that makes it look like a crown?
Yes.
Those are like keys that open the cells that are of interest to the virus. Viruses don't just enter any cell.
Okay.
They enter specific cells. They are that's why polio, for example, will hit the nerves. Hepatitis B virus will hit the liver cells. And other different viruses hit different things, and they use different routes. So when it gets into your body through usually the nose or the mouth, it will attach to cells in the breathing, in the airways. And the airways start all the way from your mouth to the lungs.
Yes.
And once it enters those cells, it will begin to multiply. And at the time as you breathe in and as you you swallow, this virus goes down and also spreads locally into the lungs. And this is what will start to cause an irritation. As these cells that are infected die, they will die because of the virus, but also because of the immune system. Your immune system will attack the infected cells to try and clear the virus. In the process, that kills those cells and causes that irritation and cough. And with time, the inflammation, what happens, like for example, when you hit on your hand and you swell, that's inflammation. So that also happens in those areas.
Okay, like in your lungs?
In your lungs, in your airways. And that's what begins to cause a cough. And the chemicals that are reduced, that are produced at that point, is what will give you a fever, tiredness, joint pains, nausea, and all that. That's a process. Symptoms. It's a process of the immune system trying to eradicate the virus. But in some people who then get the worst or the severe form of the disease, the virus will go into your lungs. And the lungs really are like a sack of small bags and pipes. And these bags, the alveoli, will contain air, and they are connected with blood vessels to exchange that air with the carbon dioxide and the other things in the blood, so that you are given oxygen to your tissues. But when these small bags get infected with the virus, they start filling up with fluid. And the same way you'd see swelling up. So as the fluid fills these bags, breathing becomes painful, and also you cannot exchange oxygen properly because you've now filled those bags with fluid. And that's when people start getting into breathing distress. And if the body does not reverse that, then of course you start getting a severe pneumonia, and eventually you may not be able to breathe at all. And that's why a few people will then require to be assisted in breathing, and many of them may come out of it, but some will succumb, because if your lungs are really hit and you cannot get oxygen into your lungs, regardless of the assistance you get from the machines, then really you can't be helped at that point. In very few cases, we also see other organs involved, because this virus could also hit like the kidneys and other organs, and that could cause a problem. And in another small group of people, we get something we call sepsis, which is really very low blood pressure, which can cause death. So, but for most people, it will be the cough, the fever, the tiredness, which come from the immune response, but a few then go into breathing issues, and much fewer will go into failure of the respiratory system and other organs.
Wow. One of the tests I read to check if you're okay is, taking a breath and hold it for like 10 seconds and see whether you're still. So this is a very, this is like one of the tests that you do when this is very progressed. So it's not like an immediate. What are those immediate symptoms that right now someone who is watching the show needs to call 719?
Well, the symptoms of coronavirus or COVID-19 are not very specific. So you will have a cough, you will have a fever. Cough. Initially it's dry, but later if it gets to your lungs and you start filling up with fluid, then it will no longer be dry.
Wow.
So initially you'll have fever, then tiredness, cough. A few people will have a sore throat, some will have nausea, some will have headaches, and all these small things. But not everybody gets that. So it's a bit difficult to tell that this is COVID-19. And I would say at this point, for most people now, because it's in the community, for most people who may have these minor symptoms, calling 719 may not help, because we know 80% of people who get this infection will survive without requiring any medical care. So, but if you start to get breathing difficulties, and as if you're taking a breath and you feel pain in your chest, then that's the time you need to get assistance for sure. Because if you get into a breathing challenge, you need to be at hospital to be treated.
Dr. Let's talk about the immune system and its role in preventing or worsening or curing the coronavirus.
Yeah, indeed, immune system has a role in all this. And if your immunity is weak, you may be predisposed to getting infections, including this coronavirus or COVID-19. But additionally, if your immune system is overzealous, like it goes all out and tries to destroy the virus, because this virus is within your cells, then it will destroy the cells.
Also the cells.
And that can make your situation at that point worse. So destroying those cells will first of all clear the virus, but sometimes also what makes you very sick, and in some instances it's what may also kill you. Like I said, the lungs fill up with fluid because of the immune system. So if the entire lung is filled up with fluid, then it means your immune system is killing you, literally drowning you.
Wow.
Yes, so it will also be able to clear the virus and cause a cure, because it's destroying the cells that are infected. But in some instances, if it's overzealous, as I said, it can also harm you. So weak immune systems will expose you, and overzealous immune system will hurt you.
Let's talk about the people who dropped biology, so they have no idea what immune system is. I just realized,
Yes.
and like they did not.
Yes.
We can have both of you explain what your yeah.
So for viruses, the immune system is what defends you from getting infected, or helps you to control the effects of the virus. And this happens through different ways. The first defense on the immune system is your skin, the linings of your body, the organs. So by the time the virus goes into your body, it has to go through that like mucosa, and that's already an immune defense mechanism. After that, there will be other cells and chemicals that the body produces to protect you to destroy the virus initially. But once the virus gets into you, the body has two ways. The first thing to kick in is your immune cells, which were called white blood cells, if you can still remember.
Yes.
And these ones will target the virus specifically and kill it.
Okay.
But with time, the body also starts producing antibodies. And these antibodies are the ones that will eventually, if the virus is still in the body, clear it. But most importantly, you have a memory of that virus. So next time it comes,
You're like, I know you.
yes, you quickly neutralize it.
Good.
Yes.
Do you want to add anything, Christine, on the immune system?
Good.
Oh. You're smart. You're super smart. Just most of the questions that are coming in are what is causing, and I think we had touched on it.
Yes.
But can we just touch on it just one more time, just to make sure people are absolutely preventing any of these things that can cause a virus?
So COVID-19 is a disease.
Yes.
Or coronavirus disease of 2019.
Yes.
The cause is called SARS coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2. That's the cause. How is it transmitted? It can come usually from somebody who is sick when they cough or sneeze and expel or disperse droplets. These droplets will land onto somebody's face or on a surface. And if somebody else touches that surface and then touches their face, usually the nose, the eyes or the mouth, then they can get infected. Really, those are the main routes of transmission.
There was a conversation, a debate also with WHO about the virus being slightly airborne, more than
Yes.
the length. We thought that it
Yes. Yes.
freeze and then
Yes. So droplets will drop to the ground very far, within minutes.
yeah.
But there's also a conversation as to whether this virus can be transmitted through aerosols. Aerosols would be possible, like as we speak now, very tiny micro droplets, like smaller than droplets, which you can't see. I would equate them to the spray you use. Like if you spray it in this room and come back hours later, you may still be able to have that scent in the air. So those are aerosols.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But the jury is still out on that. The evidence has not been very clear.
Okay.
It's one of the things that we still don't know for sure about this virus. What we know is that for processes, like in the hospital where somebody is putting an airway into your throat or putting air under pressure, you may be able, as a patient, to release aerosols that may harm that person, that healthcare worker. But we are not sure that in daily life activities that these aerosols would be produced that are laden with the virus and how long they would last. So there was a study in a lab that was showing that you can aerosolize the virus, but this was a very controlled situation.
Okay.
And that's why there's that discussion. So I would say with maybe another 2 weeks or another month or so, we may be able to see new evidence as to whether aerosolization can transmit the virus in the general population. But for now, we are saying for healthcare workers who are undertaking certain medical procedures that can cause the patient to aerosolize and infect the healthcare worker, need to take care.
Yes.
Yes.
Be very careful. Is anyone immune to this virus?
Not at all. No one is immune. And this is because this is a new virus. 3-4 months ago, no one knew this virus. It may have existed in the animal kingdom for a short while, but before then, no one had detected it. And now we screen bats and rodents and other animals. That's what I do for part of my research. We haven't seen the virus in the world before, which means none of us had been exposed to it. Usually, if you're exposed to a virus, you may build some immunity to it, not necessarily complete immunity, but some bit of it, and you may find part of the population is protected. But in this case, because the virus is totally new, all of us, the young, the old, the sick, the healthy, can get infected.
Our nutritionist in studio did tell us on how to continually boost our immunity, but now when we come back, we'll be talking about the times are getting thicker. The days are getting harder, and getting out and coming in, especially for the next few weeks that are huge in the research process, it's important for us to stay home. How can we use what we have and make sure that it's of great benefit to our bodies? That's what we're coming to right now.
Exactly.
Yes. Even as we get to that, the virus.
Yes.
I heard it's not thriving in hot conditions yet. Kilifi, what's the story, doctor?
Yes, so you had, what you were hearing was partially correct. That we see that this virus will survive much longer on cooler surfaces. For example, if you pick something that is contaminated and put it in the fridge, the virus can last in there for days. But if you put it in the sun, it will only be able to last for a few hours. But that said, you can still transmit this virus unless you're living at like 60 degrees Celsius, which is not feasible. You can still transmit this virus even at 40 degrees Celsius, which is quite hot, like most of the hottest cities at around that point. And this is because, look at influenza, for example. In our country, influenza, in the West, influenza circulates during winter.
Yes.
In our country, it circulates throughout the year because even if it's hot, it's still able to infect people, especially the vulnerable. So this virus would be the same, that although it may be slowed down by the heat, in the sense that it will be killed first if it's left on a surface, if I cough and I'm infected and you're nearby, the virus is still alive.
Yeah.
It will not die because of that 1 second in the air. It will still be able to infect and cause illness, even in the hot situations. It may be that the hot situations may help us reduce the burden, but it's not going to eliminate or eradicate the disease. We have to take our own measures to make sure we don't get infected.
Christine, we're going on break. What can people munch on that will be good for them?
And sweet.
Go get some carrots.
Carrots. Oh,
yes.
yeah.
There's this really cool recipe that I like. If you have some lemon, some black pepper, and some carrots, just chop up the carrots, drizzle some lemon, drizzle some black pepper, enjoy.
Okay.
See you later.
Yes, we'll be right back. As you do that, this is a First Aid segment. It's Health Check on Hope TV, where you look and live. Kerry Kagiri, hang out with two great people. We have in studio with us Dr. Masika and Christine Gitau, a nutritionist and dietitian. See you shortly.
Some of us have infants at home, babies at home, and sometimes they may stop breathing. What do you do in that instance? So we check first of all whether the casualty is responding. So by tapping their feet, you tap the feet of the infant. Baby, can you hear me? Baby. So if they do not move their feet or any move any part of their body, then we know that they are not responding. You try and shout for help if you're alone, and then you open the airway to check whether the casualty is breathing. Open the airway by tilting the head back and lifting the chin slightly. Remember, do not hyper extend the neck. So you check whether they're breathing. So there's no movement of the chest. I cannot hear my baby breathing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my phone and then I'm going to call for help. Once I call for help, I'm going to start CPR. How do I start CPR on an infant? You start by giving them 5 rescue breaths and then continue with chest compressions, 30 compressions, and then 2 rescue breaths and then 30 compressions. But initially you start with 5 rescue breaths. So that is what I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you complete the rescue breaths, you locate the center of the chest using 2 fingers and start chest compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then I'm going to give 2 rescue breaths. I continue with that sequence. 30 compressions, 2 ventilations. 30 compressions, 2 ventilations until help arrives. Remember, I called for help. You're going to continue with the chest compressions and the rescue breaths with that sequence until help arrives or until the casualty starts to breathe on their own.
And welcome back, and thank you for joining us on Health Check. Today, the discussion is on coronavirus. It is real as we can, and we have a virologist in studio and a nutritionist. I must say I have struggled to say the word virologist, but I've made it, so I'll repeat it one more time. Virologist. Yes, and virology is a study of viruses.
Yes.
Okay, good. So it is what it is. And our nutritionist slash dietitian just pumping us up into those things we need to eat to boost our immunity in this season, to give us more of a fighting chance with this new virus. We said when we come back, our nutritionist will pick it up by telling us how we can maximize on what we have at home, because we're not afraid, but we might have a shortage of supplies, and we must utilize what we have to the best of our ability.
Exactly.
So please share with us.
So first things first, right now, our supply chains have not been extremely affected.
Yes.
So there are things you can do now to help you later. For example, this is a moment to eat more vegetables, eat more fruit, especially the bright colored vegetables, your carrots, your red peppers. Have a lot of color on your plate now, today, not any other day.
Okay.
Then from there, as we continue with this whole pandemic, and as movements become more limited, and as our supply chains get hampered, you would have built up some stores. Okay. So we want you to be safe from today. So today is the day. Start exercising. If you have high blood sugar, diabetes, monitor your blood sugar. It is important that, especially now, that you have your self-monitoring of blood glucose continuously. Be vigilant now. Later on, as the supply chains get affected, you find the things that we can get locally and will last us that long are grains. Now your flours, your cereals, your rice, your maize, you can get that. Have that with you at home. So you remember when we were growing up, and also you remember when we were in high school, what did you used to have? Rice and
Beans.
R&B.
R&B.
But you see, when you have R&B together, you are having something that is almost the same nutritional value as milk.
Wow.
Yes. So have your cereals and legumes with you. That's very important. Also, try and limit now the amount of processed foods in the house. We had talked about that. So no more crisps, and I know they can take long. No more crisps and all that, but focus on the essentials.
How about arrowroot crisp and banana crisp?
No. Mostly not because arrowroots are bad or banana crisps are bad, but number one, they will be very high in trans fats. Not because they were made using fat that has high trans fats, but that frying process converts the fat into trans fats. Now this predisposes you to other issues, other cardiovascular issues that you would not have had.
So now we're stopping to live to eat, but we're eating to live.
Yes. And also they also have high salt.
Okay.
If you check out the food packaging, you notice that when you fry your own, let's say, peanuts, or when you roast your own peanuts at home, you do not add as much salt as you would in a packet of store-bought peanuts. True. So in that, if you can, and this is a skill that you can grow because you are at home.
These are things to do.
Yes. Learn how to now make your own peanuts, your own things like peanuts. You can have a lot of peanuts, so you'll have peanuts for peanut butter, which can make your meals more nutritious. You can also now have your fruit. Right now you can have your fruit. Later on it may not be possible. So the most important vegetable currently is all vegetables.
Okay. We are all planning how we are moving in with you. And just to make life easy, just adopt me. Bye, mom. Bye, dad.
Oh my goodness,
Love
social
you.
distancing.
No, but I want to disagree with that one just for a minute. I think I'm going on a
Exactly.
tangent, but I think it's distant socialization
I want
and not
social
distancing, because this literally removes you from
people.
being a person. Dr.
Clearly, you've had enough social distancing, you're missing people, so you instead need to socialize from a distance. But I think that's true. I'm also thinking that we may not necessarily have a crisis with healthy foods because we are not importing them.
Yes.
Farmers are still farming.
Good.
I have a friend from Kiambu who tells me he's actually enjoying now because he's working, he's not working, but now he's on the farm. And so, because the government has not shown that they are going to block the food transportation networks, we may still continue to see our fresh foods coming in,
What
which
an
is very good
encouragement.
for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is good for us.
Okay, we are getting into this element of treatment and management
Yes.
of the coronavirus. Now that we know what we need to do, but how does this look like?
To reiterate that out of 100 people, 80 at least will not require to be hospitalized for treatment. Right now they may be in hospital to be contained, to be isolated or to be taken out of circulation so they don't infect others. And in fact, most of them are doing very well. They can talk, they can walk around, they can eat. So most of these will recover without any medical intervention. There's a 20% that requires hospital intervention. And so these are receiving what we call supportive care. Supportive care comes in when you have symptoms that make you uncomfortable or threaten your life, and so the doctor will come in and try and take that away. If it's fever, they'll treat that fever. If it's pain, they treat the pain. If you can't eat, they'll probably put some fluids and other nutritional supplementation through different routes. And if you need air, they'll give you oxygen. If you can't breathe, they'll use a machine to help you breathe. So that is supportive care. There has been experimental treatment that has been very loudly talked about, chloroquines, azithromycin, and many other drugs. So far, the evidence we have does not show a clear benefit of these treatments. We can use them out of compassionate grounds for experimental and collect that data and see if we have enough data. It may tell us that this works or not. But right now we do not have enough evidence to say that this chloroquine or this azithromycin or this other drug will actually help that person. So we would say right now, luckily the WHO has started a very large clinical trial to try and get data on that. That will guide us as to whether we need to use specific drugs for this virus and for which category of people and what benefit do we expect. So I would say the treatment is mainly management through supportive care and also to isolate these people so that they don't infect others at this point. If we have too many people infected, it may get to a point where we say many of these guys can stay at home or can stay in schools that are being set aside, not necessarily hospitals, and then the people who go to hospitals are those that are really sick and require management by the doctor. So this might change with time, but right now they're being isolated in designated places to ensure we don't infect other people.
Is this virus mutating already?
We expect RNA viruses to mutate, but so far we've not seen, and this is an RNA virus, RNA versus DNA viruses. DNA viruses are more stable. If we've been observing the sequences of the genome of this virus, and if when you look at them, we've not seen a new strain yet. There could be variation, but they are quite minor. The thing with mutation is that they occur many times, but most of the time they're not compatible with life. They don't help the virus to survive many of the times. So, but once in a while you get a mutation that gives or confers a benefit to that virus so that it's able to survive your immune system or survive some drug or whatever it is. And in this case, we haven't seen that yet. The news is that these coronaviruses mutate less often compared to other RNA viruses, so that might be a blessing in disguise. But so far we've not seen any major change occasioned by mutations. So we are dealing with the same population of viruses that is changing a bit, but not remarkably. Yes.
Very curious. I can see you in a lab coat somewhere having a sample of the virus. See it. Have you seen it with your own eyes?
Now, viruses cannot be visualized directly with your eyes. You need an electron microscope. I don't own one of those. It's one of the most expensive tools in research. But you can also visualize by tagging it with a fluorescent dye and looking at it from where near regular microscope. I haven't done that yet because right now you need to reduce the handling of this virus until we understand fully how much manipulation we can do in the lab. So we would probably first inactivate it before you test the samples. So you put in something that kills the virus so that you test it safely, so that you don't get infected and then take it to your friends or your family. Yes.
Wow. So please invite Hope TV when you're ready. When this happens, I mean, we have great journalists, we have amazing team. Just call us, we come in there, and we just like be a part of the process. Do you?
All right, that can be done.
We were going to shake on it, but coronavirus. Our nutritionist in studio. How are you? Because you have a family. How are you taking measures? Like, just take us through that, so that if there's someone here who's trying to write down recipes, trying to write down what they need to do in particular in this season, you can journey with them through that.
The first thing we like to say is be alert, not anxious.
Wow.
Be alert. Know that yes, this virus is here. It will infect somebody. I do not know who, but it is already here. So be alert about it. Be vigilant. Use all the measures that Terry talked about. So we use that. We wash our hands. Make sure when you get into the house, let your outside clothes be outside clothes and inside clothes be inside clothes.
Yes.
You know what that means? Somebody said cowards live long.
Yes.
It is now your
Amen.
time. You are winning.
Hallelujah.
So yes, first things first. Let your outside clothes be outside clothes. So minimize contact with anything that you have come in from outside. So the other thing we like to do, make sure you now wash your hands. Wipe down your phone. You remember your phone is one of the dirtiest objects that you have.
Absolutely is.
Wipe down your phone. So then from there, you can now sit socially distant.
Yes.
The thing is, do what you can.
Yeah.
Be vigilant in following the measures that Terry is talking about. Let us all do that. I think also the amount of discipline. Because I think we have our culture, and this is just who we are. We like testing our limits. We do love testing our limits. This is not the time.
Nope.
Yeah, this is not the time to test your limits.
That's true. Thank you. That's brilliant. You mentioned a few medications, and the first time I heard about chloroquine, I wanted to go grab some. You know, they're like chloroquine cures. I'm like, let me grab some for my family, and just keep in the house. What are the dangers of self-medicating at this time?
First of all, you need a prescription to get some of these medications. If you do find an unscrupulous pharmacist or chemist, not necessarily because a pharmacist will not give you the drugs, you may get them, but then there's the side effects. The one thing that we know about chloroquine can cause problems in your eyes, sometimes can cause problems in your ears or in your heart. If you mix with other drugs, it can be lethal in sometimes causing your heart to lose rhythm. So I would say, first of all, it's a risk you're taking and it's not going to benefit you. Because taking chloroquine does not help you prevent the virus. Actually, even the few reports that have been there, they're showing that for people who have the virus, it makes the immune system a bit controlled so that it doesn't hurt you. So if you're taking before you get infected, really, it's not going to help you at all. So I would say there's no right now evidence at all, even what we call anecdotal, meaning collected reports, that says if you take any drug, you will be protected from COVID-19. The only thing that would help us is a vaccine, and that we know is about 2 years away if we are lucky.
And that's exactly what I was coming to,
Yes, so vaccines take a while to develop, and that's because the process is long. You start with understanding the virus, understanding the immune system, knowing what protects you, making a candidate vaccine, testing it in the lab that it's stable, testing it on a few animals that it's safe, testing that you can produce it consistently, same quality and mass, then now taking it, getting permission to take it to humans. And humans, you take it in 3 phases. So we currently, the first vaccine that is most advanced is in phase 1, which tests a few dozen people. And it tests a few dozen people to confirm that it is safe. And it can elicit some immune response. And then after that, it will go to phase 2. After that, it will go to phase 3. Now, during phase 3, we could be able to give it to people who are at risk, because that's the time you want to see that the vaccine protect others. And currently we are doing that for Ebola vaccines in Congo, which they have not yet been licensed, but because they've passed phase 1 and 2, they are safe for humans, at least with the little data that we have at
Yes.
that point. So we want to collect more data on safety, but we're also collecting data to see if the vaccine actually prevents infection. And for that to be tested, you give it to people who are at risk. So I would say right now the vaccine is far away, at least I would say about 2 years if we are lucky. And that means if the vaccines we are testing now don't fail, which happens more often than not. So it would be nice to have a vaccine, but it's no time to hold our breath yet.
Questions coming in, of course, on our text line is, how do we handle people who already have coronavirus and have come through, through the treatment,
Yes.
have been sent back home? What happens?
This is a real challenge, practically, socially. Medically, they are safe because before they are released to the public, they are tested.
Yes.
And they show that they're not shedding the virus. Because if you're shedding the virus, you'll be kept in until you stop shedding the virus. But then in the village or in the family, these people know that you had coronavirus. So we need to treat these people with compassion. We should not stigmatize them or keep them away or run away from them or even run away from families because we know they had one person with coronavirus. Coronavirus does clear, and once it's cleared, that person is healthy, can interact with other people without infecting them, and what they need at that point is compassion to be reintegrated back. You can imagine they're in isolation for 3-4 weeks. It's not a very good experience. So this is the time to bring them back in, of course keeping social distancing because we don't know if they can get reinfected.
Yeah.
It's possible, although it's not likely. We need to still keep that those guidelines with them, that not too much hugging, not too much closeness, but yes, you treat them kindly, you treat them without hostility, and welcome them back to the society, even though it has changed from what they may have left. Yes.
With viruses, are they now immune?
Now, that's a question that we haven't answered fully, and I say this because immunity, as I remember, I described it as people develop antibodies against this virus, and next time you get exposed, the antibodies kick back in very quickly. Now, we need months, even years, to know how long those antibodies last. And that includes what we call a rechallenge. You want to rechallenge some people and see, are they protected? Or you want to see if they've been exposed and see if they were able to clear the virus. So that requires more time. But using our logic so far, for all viral infections, most, not all, you get antibodies that last at least a few months for most of these viral infections. So we expect that they may not be able to be reinfected and they may be immune for a period of time. For what period of time, we do not know. One of the studies looked at monkeys, and they were, after infection and surviving, they were re-exposed to the virus, and the virus was not able to cause an infection in those monkeys. So that's an encouraging report telling us that the immunity could last a while, but we need more time to know how long it lasts, because you have to study with real people who last, how long the antibodies actually last, and you can't rush that process.
Awesome. To our nutritionist in studio, the question for you would be, now all the kids are home, how do we get affordable food to be able to keep everyone in the family healthy?
First things first, cook for yourself. Okay? When you cook your own meat, and even if you went to your nyama choma, then where the meat is maybe 250, 250 would have been enough for your whole family. All right? Cook your own food. It's always cheaper. Also, do meal preparation in batches. So sit down as a family, know what can we afford, what is in our budget. So we can say, we can get tomatoes, we can get onions, we can get carrots and potatoes. Work around that. Because when you involve children in the meal preparation process, they're more likely to add there. All right? Then the other thing that we need to understand is that the more expensive components of food are usually the ones we don't really need much of. For example, if I say you need to have a meal with a protein, a protein source, a vegetable source, and a carbohydrate. True? So that's basically what we say, and we say half your plate should be vegetables, a quarter carbohydrate, a quarter protein.
Wow,
no space for air?
No space for air.
Air is from the top.
So half the plate vegetables.
Half the plate vegetables, a quarter carbohydrate, a quarter protein.
Doctor, do you do that?
No.
Well, sometimes I really like vegetables, but it's not usually, I've not built it in my routine. Maybe I should try.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I like sweet things, so those I need to avoid. So I'm trying to get more grapes rather than more biscuits.
Oh,
And
yes. I have some grapes, I'll share.
So now, as you do that, now let's talk about the quarter protein.
Yes.
If you're having red meat, like beef, goat, etc., it's usually the size of a matchbox.
Wow.
Wow, that is enough for you for that meal.
Ile matchbox kubwa,
That one, the 5 bob,
okay,
that
sawa.
brand,
Make it
you
sure.
know
Okay,
it.
yes.
So that
How many?
small size, one.
Like 3 pieces.
Like
of
we
nyama.
do, when you cut it, it's about 6 pieces of meat.
Okay.
6 small pieces.
Okay.
And if you're doing that for a family of 4, it would mean even a quarter kilo of meat.
It's more than enough.
Is more than enough. A
Wow.
quarter kilo, when you do your budgeting, depending on where you live, is between 100 to 120 and 150.
maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're lean meat like me.
Yeah,
it's
100.
200.
Yes. But then that is, if that 200 can feed your family
The
or
entire family.
the entire family.
Uh-huh.
So start from there.
Okay.
Then also now focus on now your plant proteins. Now your beans, your commanders, what are they? Lentils, yes.
Lentils, very
Your
nice.
green grams, your chickpeas.
Yes.
So focus on that also as part of your protein sources. Then when you're talking about vegetables, there's this tendency to look for very exotic vegetables, especially when we hear eat healthy. So all of us rush towards the exotic ones. Eat what is locally available.
So mrenda.
Yes, if you can.
But these things seem to be more expensive than the others. If you're trying to get managu and this other stuff,
Yes.
it seems to take a little more effort. Or maybe
Kunde
Yes.
and all that.
Exactly.
I know.
That's why I'm saying eat what is available
Yeah.
to you.
So skuma wiki.
If skuma wiki,
spinach.
exactly. If it's
Okay.
available to you, eat that.
Okay.
For the next season, for example, we have mango season that just went.
Yes.
Came and went. Oh my. So if on mango season, eat mangoes. During orange season,
Have your oranges.
have your oranges. So don't really focus on anything that feels so exotic.
Okay.
Of course, you can have your berries and the things that are nice and sweet, but it doesn't have to be exotic. Yes.
Okay. We take that and take it home. Please stay healthy so that your immune system is good. Even as you have this time, it's exciting to, order food for most of us, but we will cook for ourselves because the nutritionist in studio has encouraged us. Power to the people.
And something else, before I forget. A lot of people are touting some supplements and saying, oh, these supplements are good for you and these ones are not, then these ones will boost your immunity.
You're about to break people's hearts because you're like,
I am not about to, yes, exactly. I'm not about to disparage somebody's character.
Yes.
But for most times, all these things are not scientifically proven.
Okay.
Studies have not been done. If you are having a chronic illness and when you're taking an extra supplement to boost, in quotes, your immunity, you might even be hampering functioning of the drugs that you're supposed to be taking. So do not take supplements without guidance from your doctor and your nutritionist. So supplements are not sweets. Are we together?
Spend that money on fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
Your body will filter out what it needs. And most of the times you have enough stocks of these vitamins in your body. So if you're adding more, you probably don't need them already. And the people who can afford are actually probably healthy people. Generally, they don't have shortages in vitamins unless they have certain medical conditions for which the doctor will prescribe those supplements, specific ones. Yeah.
Daktari, when coronavirus came, we were encouraged to drink continuously warm water. What was that supposed to do?
It's not of any general protection.
Uh-huh.
It may make you comfortable if you're sick. I mean, I like warm water a lot of times, and I mean, I think it's much better when I have an upper, like a cold or so. But this does not protect you from a coronavirus infection at all. It may make your symptoms, less bearable, less hurtful, because if your throat is dry, of course, you have issues. But it's not a protection. So the things that are proven to help you protect yourself from coronaviruses are the things we've spoken about.
Yeah.
Hot water is good. If you mix it with lemon or ginger, it's fine, take it. But don't say that is my protection against
Coronavirus.
Enjoy your water, enjoy your whatever, but
Yeah.
it's not your shield.
Yeah.
Yes.
To our nutritionist, why is coronavirus more susceptible to the older than to the younger? This has been said. Don't go to shags, don't hug your grandmother, you know.
That's a very interesting question. But you find that as people age, all of us will age, God willing. All of us will age. And as we age, our immune cells start to die off. All right? So our immunity is not as robust as it would have been when we were in our 20s, maybe. So when you visit, not just visiting, when you yourself, especially the young people, the myth has been that young people will survive this. But we are not doing it for just ourselves. It is important to come back to thinking about your community. That you will go in and you will you will say, I will not social distance. You'll say, why should I wash my hands? You'll say all these things. But you will get infected. It will not be very severe for you, but you will infect somebody else who is now older with a compromised immune system or is unwell and did not even know they were carrying a condition where they're immune compromised, and you would cause this other person to be unwell. So these measures that we are taking are not just for me. I am not washing my hands for myself. I am washing my hands for everybody around me. When we're told to social distance, even with our older people, we miss them. We do miss them. The WHO has now started to give a recommendation that instead of calling it social distancing, we call it physical distancing. Okay?
Yeah.
So make time to be social. Like make time to love the people around you. You can have video calls. If you're away from maybe a loved one and there's maybe a program that you watch and you like together, you can watch it separately together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So cute.
So do things that keep the love, maintain the love.
Yes. It's been such a great show. As we wrap this up, can you quickly take us through one more time how much time this virus lasts on surfaces? Because there are those who are really curious.
Yeah, before we talk about the surface, I'd like to add that the exposure or the risk to the old has also other angles besides what she's saying.
Okay.
And this we've seen in different contexts. In China, it was after people were put under quarantine. So, and each family has maybe older parents and grandparents, and now the young people may come in and they're the ones who are infected. And then now the family unit ends up exposing the older people.
Oh, no.
And this is probably what informed Mutahi Kagwe's advice that we shouldn't now rush home, because if the young in Nairobi are infected and they take this to the older parents and grandparents, that could predispose them. In Italy, it was this, what are they called? Nyumba za wazee, the nursing homes where these people were. And so it was easy to spread. And there are other conditions where you find the elderly, because they have less access to social media and other sources of information. They do not have all the information they require to protect themselves. So that also predisposes them. The ability or the inability of them to move or to take certain actions that would allow them to protect themselves from harm. But also the fact that many of them have underlying conditions. And it is underlying conditions that have been shown to actually increase the risk much more even than the age. And this includes cancer, include hypertension, include diabetes, include chronic lung diseases, chronic heart diseases, which they already have by virtue of their age. So we need to take extra care for them so that they don't interact with too many people. No one, if possible, except on the phone or from distance, and keep taking healthy food, keep giving them the right information so that they know how to protect themselves.
That's true.
Now, as to how long the virus can last on a surface, there has been very little information on this, but about 2 weeks ago we had a very good study showing that the virus can last for about 3 hours to 3 days on different surfaces. The good news is that although this virus will last for several hours on different surfaces, if you clean that surface with soap and water, the virus dies.
Good.
So that's, I think, the silver lining on that.
We're wrapping this one up, and thank you so much for your time. When is this pandemic expected to end?
2 months ago we said by April we could see the end of COVID-19.
But we're being flooded with headlines of the number shooting up by April.
Right now we know that by April we might not even have reached the peak. And this is because of the shift. You can see the hotspot moved from China to Europe. Now it's in the US. Where is it going to next? Is it going to South America? Because you know there's a lot of interaction. Will it come to Africa at some point? And that's still possible. So I'm thinking it may even take us to the end of the year. If you're very lucky, maybe by August. But these are things that are based on observations we've seen so far, and we know they can change quite dramatically.
Yeah.
So for now, let's get prepared for the long haul. My point so far has been, rather than focusing, we know we should be prepared for the worst and we should be ready for it. But for now, let's dwell on what you can do right now, because there's something you can do to make the situation better right now, and that's what will keep us going even when the going gets very rough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we've heard it. Same important things reiterated is you're taking care of yourself, not only for you, but also for others. You're cleaning your hands, washing surfaces with soap, eating clean. What did you say? It was a very powerful word, and I want to go show off to my friends. But cleaning your fruits and making sure you're eating clean, you're eating whole foods that have not been tampered with. And as also Daktari says, you're cleaning your hands, you're informing your families about all the knowledge that you have. I'll give you just a minute to give us your wrapping up remarks, and of course, ladies first.
Thank you.
And thank you for your company.
It was fantastic.
Great.
Now, the thing that we like to say when you're doing lifestyle interventions, there are 4 areas. Number 1, move more. So we know you cannot go out for a run, but you can exercise at home. There are apps that guide you on which exercises you can do for your legs, for your arms, to tone your whatever you want to tone. The other thing is just love more. Studies have shown that when there is social support, we are more likely to adhere to health recommendations. So let us be there for each other. Let us support each other. It's not just about throwing fear into the air, but also throw some love into the air.
Wow.
Okay?
Yes.
The other thing is that eat well. So what we talked about, eat more vegetables, more fruit, more plants, avoid processed foods. And then the last thing is just stress less. Okay? Studies have shown that when you're stressed, your immunity is lowered.
Wow.
All right? So if you find the news is frustrating you, switch it off. You own the
Tune
remote.
into Hope TV.
So yes, tune into Hope TV.
Yes.
Watch the news maybe twice a day. If twice a day is too much, don't watch the news once a day. All right? Just do things that will keep you whole, so that once this will pass.
Yes.
And when it passes, you will still be here and you will still be human. That's important.
Wow. Thank you so much. What a powerful last remarks for you, Dr.
Yes, I would say so far there are 2 things that I've seen that are affecting most people, maybe 3. One is fear and anxiety. The second is misinformation, and the third is maybe the social economic effects of this epidemic or pandemic now. I would say for fear and anxiety, we need to focus on the correct information.
Yes.
There's so much flood of information, such a flood of information on social media. Let's filter that out. There are group messages that you don't need to follow, but you could identify reliable channels for getting information. And try and, again, as I said, focus on what you can do. There will be sometimes people will feel helpless and unprepared and like doomsday, apocalyptic, scary position. But that is not what we need to look at, because we know for sure COVID-19 will not clear the world. At the end of it all, we'll still be here. We'll be battered, but we'll pick up and move on. And as we do that, the question is, what can you do now that will keep you going? And she's mentioned some of those things: staying healthy, worrying less. Of course, worry and anxiety are normal, but how you deal with it will determine your state of health. Additionally, for information, get the right information and share it with others. Don't share information that you haven't checked. If it's the numbers look too good and too scary, counter check them. Don't be quick to share something because it's exciting or it seems quite new. There's a lot of false information going on, and once you share that, you cause fear in somebody else, and that might make them take actions that may not protect them but put them at risk. For social economic, I think that's something we need to think about long term. There are people who will not be able to work for a long time. There are people who may have loss of income. There are people who may not be able to go to school, have their weddings, travel and see people they wanted to see. We need to accept that these adjustments are real, that we need to make them in our life, but we know this is temporary. At some point, we'll be able to pick up and move on. For now, let's protect ourselves and protect others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Are you guys available for questions from people? Are you guys online? Are you on social media? How can want to interact with you, Christine?
You can look for my Facebook page. My
Okay.
Facebook page is Mviringo. Mviringo for Sako.
Yes.
Mviringo
Yes.
Wellness.
Uh-huh.
You can always send in your questions and we'd be glad to give you feedback.
Awesome. Dr. Kerry?
Yes, my Twitter handle is at Mose Masika, M-O-S Masika.
Okay.
And Facebook is Moya Masika.
Okay.
So you can engage me on those platforms. I try to be as
Active.
as possible.
Okay. It's been such a good show. And finally, for me, it's encourage yourselves in the Lord. It's not easy, but God is in the throne. He's not shocked. He's not like, coronavirus. He knows. And He is here. And all will be well. Thank you so much for choosing Hope TV, and thank you for watching Health Check. Thank you one more time to our guests for your time. We appreciate you. Keep it right here on Hope TV, where you look and live. Remember, we're going to put this up on YouTube, on our Facebook pages, so interact with us. And even as we do that, it has been Health Check. Until next week, Tuesday, 7 in the p.m. I'll see you then. Bye.